Welcome to my little space, where heart and hook stitch up a place, where we can together make a refuge, safe for all our sake. Okay, so it is Monday. I don't usually start filming my vlogs on Monday because I haven't even put out last week's video as of this moment. But I'm just about finished editing that to post tomorrow, and I'm excited to jump into my next project, which I alluded to at the end of last week's video. I'm tackling this stupid AI crochet pattern. I can tell already looking at it that it's not going to be good. But here, let me just analyze just the overall look of the pattern with the graphics that are on there for you. Okay, so here we have the crochet dragon scarf, supposed crochet pattern that a customer sent to me just to show me. She thought it was cute. So here I thought I would zoom in on each of these three main product photos. As you can see, they're all very different. So that's definitely clue number one, that this is an AI pattern, is that all three of the main images are different. And then I thought I'd also show you, just if you want to look out for AI and you don't really know about crochet, look at these other little images scattered around on the pattern. Like, I think these are supposed to be leaves, but they're very odd. I definitely have some issues with this whole collection of images. On the left, it kind of looks like it's trying to look like a skein of green yarn, but really it's like two separate balls with like a little wrapper in between. And then it looks like some sort of plant material there at the bottom right. And then just above that, like, what is that tool? It kind of makes me think of this little tool that we used to use to try to extract like blackheads and whiteheads and stuff, with like a metal loop at the end. It's definitely not a crochet hook though. And then, being the most generous I can with my interpretation, that must be a knitting needle and yarn that just turns into a leaf. So these are just some things to look out for if you want to try to identify whether something is AI. But don't worry, as I get going on this, we will start to dissect the actual body of the pattern even more. Okay, so I've gathered yarns. It does say to have green and a cream or yellow as a contrast color. So I actually found these two that are very, very close to the colors in the images on the pattern. I'm going to try to give it the best chances possible. It does call for a 4.5 millimeter hook. However, that is one size I don't have. I have a ton of hooks, but, or at least if I have it, I don't know where it is. But I do have a 4.25, which should be fine because I can do a slightly loose tension. I tend to do a slightly loose tension for garments anyway, and that can be the equivalent or even more than, you know, sizing up a hook. So 4.25. I'm gonna crochet slightly loose just to account for that, just only slightly. But we'll see. I'm gonna get started, and I'll touch base with you when I have some part of it finished. Okay, this already has me totally cracking up. There's the head. It tells me to put the eyes. It says insert eyes in between rows 5 and 6. So that's this line of holes here, but I don't know where around the ball to put them. But then at the end it says, so this is all the stitches it says to do for the head. And at the end it says to fold it flat and single crochet across to close. So I positioned the eyes so that when I fold this flat from where I left off with the stitching and I stitch it across there, that the eyes kind of line up that way. But now I don't know whether this is the front of the face or this is the front. To me, this is looking more like the front, just the anatomy of the stitching. Of course, it looks nothing like the picture, but the next instructions say to attach the yarn at the bottom of the head for making the scarf part. So I also have to decide what the bottom of the head is. So if I do want to say that this is the front of the head here, I'm trying to like mold it into more of a head shape. Obviously it's not stuffed yet. I'm just trying to figure out the anatomy before I finish off this piece. If this is the front, then this would be the back of the head, and this would be the bottom. Now, the next instructions that say to crochet the scarf part, starting by attaching it at the bottom of the head, it says to attach at the bottom of the head and single crochet 10 stitches. So I guess I will just pick a row down here where I feel like I can easily fit 10 stitches into, and I'll single crochet, I'll like top stitch 10 stitches across the bottom of the head for 10 stitches, and then do, I'm already envisioning this is gonna be horrible. This is really funny. Okay, so, and then also, this is funny. Look at this. The scarf instructions are in there twice. If you're watching this, you can let me know in the comments if you think this is going to turn out just like the pictures, even though all the pictures are different. Okay, I'm going to finish the head, and I guess I'll jump into the body section. This is not going to take long at all. Oh, I forgot. When my customer first sent me this pattern, I drew a little diagram of what I thought the overall shape of this thing is going to look like if I actually crocheted it. And so this is the image I showed her that I just drew on my phone. And let's see how close to that we get when this is all said and done. By the way, the pattern does not indicate that there are going to be any safety eyes. It just says insert eyes once you're making the head. So I just have these that seem like about the right size eyes for that size head, I suppose. Sure. Okay, it's almost finished. Prepare yourselves for this beautiful dragon scarf with this funny little knobby edge at the back of the head where I did the single crochet closure. And look at the beautiful shaping of the tail. So I realized that my initial drawing was wrong because I just saw the dragon picture of the picture of the scarf, and it looks like it's done in the round. So my mind was thinking 10 single crochets in the round. So I thought it was going to be like this long skinny tube, but no, because it says to attach to the bottom of the head and to crochet 10 stitches and then chain 1 and turn. So I did exactly the 120 rows of 10 single crochet stitches. That's the length of the scarf. It does, however, give you the freedom to make it longer or shorter if you want. It says, adjust the length as desired or something like that. And the pattern at the top of the pattern, it says the whole thing is supposed to measure, like, I think it's at 140 to 160 centimeters. This measures 81 centimeters. And I used, yes, a slightly smaller hook than called for. However, I crocheted with a nice loose tension. So that should more than account for the hook size. If anything, it's probably bigger than what your average 4.5 hook would give you with average crochet tension. All that's left to do is the belly. It says to attach the contrasting color, and it says something like slip stitch evenly across the belly. I'm not sure what that means exactly. There's nothing specifying belly that I can see in the pictures. But since I determined that this is the bottom of the head and this is like the back of the head and the front of the head, then I guess this would be the belly. And by slip stitching across it, the funny thing is this is just like a flat piece of crochet. So if I slip stitch on this side, you're going to see the white popping through on the back side too, which might kind of look like we're trying to look like spikes. It's not. There's no information on spikes in the pattern at all, so we're just not even going to worry about that. So that's simple. You don't have to worry about it. So I don't know. I'll have to pick a hole to go through. I don't know if I'm just going to do a straight line. I guess I'll just do a straight line down the belly, but like I can't even go right in the middle either because it's an even number of stitches. So the line is going to have to be off-centered one way or the other, unless I go back and forth. Maybe I'll do that. I'll just go back and forth in the 2 center stitches so that it is actually centered. It'll just be like a little bit of a zigzaggy wavy line down the middle. For the belly, even though it will show through to the back side too, no spikes like the picture shows. And then the only other finishing touches that it actually specifies to do is it says you can embroider nostrils, even though it never says to have black yarn. I will get a little bit of black yarn and embroider the nostrils. And then it says you can attach the teeth using felt. I think it says felt or crocheted teeth. There's no pattern on that. You know what? I'll just crochet a couple little teeth and I'll stitch those on as well. So we'll do the best we can with this guy. And then the other thing is that the tail, so the body doesn't say to fasten off. So, but then the tail is in a completely separate area and it just gives the instructions to chain 1 and do 8 crochets, single crochets. So I just took I assumed that you're supposed to continue the tail. This is the tail, by the way, this section, that you're supposed to continue the tail from where you left off with the body. Where we left off with the body is 10 stitches. And then with the tail coming in this direction now, it just says to go 8 stitches. That's why it doesn't go all the way to the end. And then it gives instructions for decreasing. And then for the very last row, this is what it shows. I'm assuming that means decrease twice, single crochet decrease twice. So that's what I did. It basically just brings it down kind of to a point, but it is off center from the edge there, as you can see. It is beautiful. If you're watching this, please leave in the comments what you think the name of this dragon scarf should be. I have to decide whether to keep this as like a mascot for my channel or give it to my customer that showed me the pattern. I don't know yet. We'll see. But yeah, think about names and I'll come back to you when he or she is finished. I decided to start the belly in about the center of the tail and then kind of angle it up to the center of the scarf section. And it took me a bit to figure out how to hold this. So you'll see I kind of eventually come up with folding it in half kind of lengthwise, and that was much easier to maneuver. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. Here's what it's looking like. There's what the back looks like. Okay, are you ready for the big reveal? You'll have to help me decide whether this is a boy or a girl and what his or her name should be. I tried to take inspiration for the placement of the nostrils and the teeth. There's the back side because, like I said, the slip stitches of the belly are going to show through, and I don't even know why we did this, but we slip stitched down the belly. So yeah. And I did what I said. I went back and forth between the two center holes because it's an even number of stitches, and it kind of made a little zigzag along the back side. You could imagine that that's, you know, maybe this is a genius AI pattern. Maybe that counts as the spikes on the back that are never indicated to make. It actually gives the instructions to make the scarf body part twice, but I took the liberty in assuming that they really only meant that once. But there we go. I will give this guy or gal an official photo shoot, and we'll just have to do a side by side of what the images in the pattern look like. Can't wait to make the horse. So yeah, I will make the other AI pattern next as the next thing I do. But tomorrow I will be going to the post office. I ended up selling 2 more mouth puppets. This person didn't specify button color, so I just grabbed 2, and now I'm down to 1 already again. So I have 3 mouth puppets and the red vest that you saw me making in last week's video to ship out tomorrow morning. But now I'm gonna go to bed because I stayed up way too late last night, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Here I am cleaning carpets. Now I've said for many years that I totally could see myself, if I ever needed like an extra little side hustle, I could see myself trying to advertise my carpet cleaning skills to neighbors because I just love this machine. I find it so satisfying watching the water get slurped up into the machine, and then when I dump it and it's all like black or gray when it started off clean, and then the carpets of course are nice and clean. I just love it. One thing Facebook is good for is it helps me compile a memories reel every single day. And this time I decided to share this one from this week with you because it includes this memory of another doll maker talking about how I'm part of her history.
You know, Eileen, I mention you a lot. And I don't know if I mention you often enough by name. You were one of the first people that I had seen making dolls, one of two people that I had seen making dolls when I first started in about 2013. And the reason why you stood out was because you were one of only two people that I had seen make black dolls. And your depiction of the Princess and the Pea from the African folktale, I believe, the African version of that, when you created the doll to look like the character on the cover, that stayed with me years ago. And I make mention of having seen that years ago, and it was like the first light bulb that said, oh shoot, nobody's making black dolls except these two non-black women. Yes. You and one other person were the only people at the time that I found on the internet that crocheted black dolls. Yours stood out because you actually recreated the character from the book, and I was just like, that is amazing. And so a lot of times when I'm when I'm giving my origin story, I make mention of you. So for those of you who've been kicking it with me for a long time, Aileensoprano is the woman that I've made mention about at a time where there were little to no, I don't even want to say no, there weren't people, there were only her and another person who had crocheted on purpose black dolls.
Hello, it is now Wednesday. I've just released my latest Nana, which I showed off in last week's video, Nana Paloma. And I look forward to making the next one in a couple days, maybe starting tomorrow. We'll see. But last night and this morning, I've just been working on some batch making of these mouth puppet parts. These are just the pockets without the lips or any other parts for my mouth puppets, because I noticed that my tongue-tied mouth puppet is actually sitting in 7 people's shopping carts on Etsy. So because I didn't feel like diving into the next AI pattern last night, so I just started doing some batch making, just some chilling out, doing that last night and this morning, and I'll probably do some more maybe later today. But I wanted to tackle this pony. So this pattern, I took a closer look at it than I had before, and it is more of a piece of work than the other pattern, the dragon scarf. So this forest pony, it doesn't even show, it doesn't have a list of supplies or anything like that. And the only yarn color that it ever mentions is brown. But the very first instructions that start off telling you to make the head, at the very end of the head, it says to switch to brown. And looking at the pictures, it's obvious that the main color is meant to be like a beige color. So going off of the pictures, I picked 2 yarn colors. This is a very common color for me to use. This is Big Twist Cream. And then I picked this as the like the mane and tail colors. So I will do the best I can to kind of decipher what the pattern thinks it's trying to tell me to do, because I'm pretty well versed in crochet patterns. So I'll show you what I mean. I think for each section, I will show you that bit of the pattern and explain a little bit to you what I think it means, and we'll have a laugh together. So let's start with the head. Okay, so even though it doesn't say anything about yarn color, I am starting with the beige because as you can see, most of this head is in beige. It does show a white stripe down the center front, but we aren't even going to do that because nothing indicates that ever here. So let me just go through this. Row 1 makes sense. Row 2 makes sense only if you read that as increase times 6. It kind of looks like an AI rendering of somewhere between a 5 and a 6, but it says it's supposed to be 12 stitches, so it should be increase times 6, which is a totally normal increase for round 2 for amigurumi. So that's what we did. Round 3 says single crochet and increase times 6, perfectly normal round for round 3 in amigurumi, except that should equal 18 stitches, not 118, but I just did that to equal 18 stitches. The next 3 rounds make total sense in terms of the instructions and the total stitch counts. And then the next one, it says round 7 through 8, single crochet in each stitch around, and that should be 36 again. So I did that. I did 2 more rounds of 36 even. And then round 9, it looks like it's like an AI rendering, kind of like picking up on what the instructions were previously, because it says 8 single crochet in each stitch around. That would be a total stitch count of 8 times 36, which I'm not going to do the math right now in my head, but I just read that as single crochet in each stitch around again, so another round of 36. Now here's a weird thing. It jumps from round 9 to round 16. And this has the head going all the way to round 20. Now the body also goes to round 20, so I'm just going to take a stab at thinking that this is supposed to be just the next row. Where it says round 16, I'm taking it as round 10, and so on and so forth. So for the next round, this set of instructions makes sense to decrease by 3 around to give us 33 stitches. And then the next 3 rows also make sense, perfect sense. Then it says to change to brown yarn, which makes me think, okay, I was right to begin with the beige, but I wonder why we're switching to brown. And for row 20, which is actually not row 20 for me, it says single crochet in each stitch around 24 stitches. So that's where I'm at, 24 stitches, that's correct. And then the instructions here at the bottom are pretty funny. It says make, or it has like an accent, make, leave long tail, FO, which by the way stands for fasten off, leave long tail. So it basically tells me to leave a long tail and to fasten off twice. So I left a long tail and I fastened off. It doesn't say to close it, so I haven't closed it. I'm not really sure what to do with this now. Okay, I don't know if you're ready for this. This beautiful, beautiful forest pony head that I've got, but here we are. Now, you might think it looks nothing like the picture, and you would be right. But in trying to determine where I should place eyes, by the way, it never says to place eyes in the head instructions. It kind of, in an AI way, says something about eyes in the next set of instructions for the body. But I'm just playing around with this right now. I'm going to leave this open and unfinished until I finish the body so I can decide then how I want to close this up and position eyes. I went with these larger size eyes they're a little larger than the ones I used for the scarf, and they have brown in them. And I thought I would go with a little bit larger because the eyes on the pony picture look pretty big. This almost looks like it could be a horse head shape, the way this is decreasing more gradually. I would just want to see it decrease a little bit more and like come down for more rows. But as it is, I don't know why we changed to brown for this last row, but we did. And I imagine that if I cinched this together, if I close this up here, which that's 24 stitches is a lot of stitches to cinch together, but I'm sure I can do it. I feel like that kind of the darker color around the muzzle kind of makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that this is the muzzle, this will get closed. And actually, by the time I close that, I should probably move the eyes back a little bit. trying to visualize it. Yeah, it's gonna be a funky pony. Okay, so this is in progress. I have not secured these eyes permanently yet. I'm gonna set this aside and make the body, and we'll take a look at the body part of the pattern now too. Okay, so doing the best I can to make sense of this, right next to body it says something like Selvi eyes. So I just took that to mean insert eyes on the head previously. So I did that before, but then I took them back out because I want to figure out my final positioning before I decide where the eyes are going to go. So then it says brown yarn. So I take it to mean I'm supposed to use brown yarn for making the body. So okay, I'll do that. Row 1 makes sense, row 2 makes sense, row 3 makes sense. Row 4 doesn't make sense. 5 single crochets and then an increase and times 9 around. It would not be 36 stitches, but I'm going to assume we are meant to keep with the same increasing pattern. So that would be 2 single crochets and an increase times 9. So that's what I did. Then rounds 5 through 8, single crochet in each stitch around, 36. That makes sense. So that makes sense because now we're going down by 3 stitches each round. This starts to not make sense when you get down to round 17. It should still be like a decreasing by 3 stitches each time down. So that should be 7 single crochets and a decrease times 3 is 24. I'm just going to keep with that same pattern and stick with the total number of stitches that are shown there at the ends of the rows. And then it says to fasten off. It says FO and fasten off. Leave long tail. Oh yeah, and then also just to note that where it says round 17, it should say round 12, unless we're just missing a bunch of rows of instructions. So I'm not going all the way to round 20 like it says. I'm doing the number of rounds that it shows, I'm not looking at the round numbers because that just doesn't make sense. Now look at this last line. I'm going to do my best to read it. Risen round 15 of heady to in round 15 of head. I'm going to say that probably means I'm supposed to stitch the body to the head in some way. But rounds mean nothing to me at this point. I only have my sense of intuition to turn to at this point. Okay, I've officially made the body now. There we have it. The instructions, as I pointed out, really don't make sense for how to attach the head and the body. So this is 15 stitches around, and this is 24 stitches around. I'm not sure, because the body is the same color as this part of the head, I kind of want to attach the head like onto the body somewhere at this point, and then reposition the eyes somewhere down like here to be the face, for this to be the front of the face. To me, that makes a little more sense than cinching 24 stitches in together like this. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll cinch this together and then maybe attach the head on there, like maybe like that. Obviously the eyes, I'll reposition the eyes. I'm gonna do my best to make it cute, you guys. But this is what I'm working with. Do you think the narrower part should be the back side or the front side? Like by the front legs or the back legs? By the way, the pattern has instructions for arms and legs, and it gives the arms instructions twice, and they're slightly different. But we'll get to that later. I think I should finish off these pieces and attach them at this point. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll wait until I make the legs too, so I can kind of get a final idea of what everything looks like before I attach everything. Okay, so I'm setting that aside for now. I'm probably going to be done with making parts for that for today, because we're going to be going pretty soon to the movie theater. We're going to go watch Aurora in concert in the movie theater. So it's a concert that she did in Mexico City and on the Day of the Dead last year. And yeah, for me, this is the closest I'll ever get to seeing her in concert, probably. So my kids are fans of hers as well, so it'll be a fun family experience. And then if I get around to crocheting later, maybe I'll make some more parts for this, or maybe I'll do some more mouth puppet parts. Not sure, but I will definitely fill you in on each step of the way for this pattern.
Okay, now we come to a section of the pattern called arms. Funny thing is there is another section called arms as well, and it's different. See over here, and this one actually has a picture of what the arms are supposedly supposed to look like. And as you can see, they bear no resemblance to the visual that we have of the pony in the middle of the pattern. But I just decided to go with the first set of instructions because I have to keep just making decisions doing this pattern. Round 1 already doesn't make sense. It says to do 6 single crochets, and it says that the total stitch count is 9. So that's wrong. I just did 6, and then it says to increase by 9. I increased by 6 because that's how many I started with, and that got me 12 stitches. And then I increased the same way, but of course that gave me 18 stitches. And then that made sense for rounds 4 through 8, where it just says to single crochet in each stitch around, and that should be 18 stitches. So that's what I did. And then here at the end it says brown yarn. So I did keep with the same brown yarn as the body. It says fasten off. It says it twice because FO means fasten off, leave a long tail. Okie dokie, I did that.
Hello, it is now Thursday, and I am back. The dog thought I was suddenly talking to a stranger or something. I am back once again. You already saw this part, head and a body. I'm not sure how they're gonna go, but I also now have the arms. So I presume the arms are the front legs, and I still don't know whether I'm going to position them here or here at the wider end. I'm thinking maybe the wider end because the legs, which I guess are the back legs, are going to be bigger, I think. So here's what we've got going so far. Maybe something like this. Maybe. Once again, I'm going to leave these unstitched, unstuffed. Well, I mean, I could start to stuff them, but once I figure out final position of everything, once I have all the pieces made, then I'll start to position them. So now I need to do the back legs.
Okay, so the back legs instructions, well, they just call it legs. I'm calling it back legs. It's very similar to the body. So it starts with 9 and increases to 18 and then 27. And then the next rounds 4 through 8, it kind of looks like. And then right after that, it says rounds 5 through 8. So I just considered this rounds 4 through 8. It does say to single crochet in each stitch around, which should keep us at 27 stitches. But it does say, it kind of says 36 stitches. Rounds 5 through 8 say 36 stitches. Rounds 4 through 8 say 86 stitches. So I'm going to assume that they want me to increase up to 36 stitches like we did before. Because then in round 9, it has us doing 3 decreases, which brings us down to 33 stitches. I mean, I think they want me to decrease 3 times because in the instructions in the parentheses it says decrease and right after it says times 3. But if you do 3 stitches and then a decrease and repeat that 3 times, that's not going to take you all the way around the round. So I did, 10 and then a decrease times 3, and that's 33 stitches. And then round 10, I kind of had to make the same adjustment to make it equal 30 stitches, and then I had to make the same adjustment for round 11, and so on and so forth. I think this is the section of the pattern that has started to break down the worst out of the whole pattern. And then look at this right here. What do you think that says?
now Friday, and I finished the legs, or the back legs, I suppose, since the arms are the front legs. And I did want to say that I did notice that farther along in the pattern, that it does give instructions for both ears and muzzle. So the choice I was thinking of making of attaching the head so that the last round of brown attaches to the body, that's what I'm going to do for sure, because it is going to have a separate muzzle piece that will attach, and it will have ears. But for now, I've assembled the head without the ears and muzzle, and the body and the arms and the legs, or the front legs and back legs, if you want to say. None of us were ready for this, I swear. Look at the back legs. The back legs are almost the same as the body, just like one or two fewer rows, I think. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, every shape except for the front legs has this, it's like a ball, but it's like a triangular ball. As you can see, it has like this triangle shape. And the head does too. And so does the body. It's so cute. Okay, so I was already cracking up before I got on camera, and yeah, I wish you could have seen my first reaction to putting it together. But yes, so I repositioned the eyes to be towards the front, because the muzzle will go here and the ears will go here, and then it will look a lot more like a pony. And it, thankfully, it does give instructions to put hair on. It says hair. It doesn't say mane. Now, if we look at the pictures on the pattern, it does show some hair around here. So maybe I'll attach some there too. Not completely sure. Maybe I'll just skip that, because like none of this looks like the pattern. But it says to attach hair, and it says to attach the tail, and it does give two different instructions for the tail. So I'm just going to attach a mane and tail the way I always do on my regular custom horses. And I was just remembering that I've crocheted, I mean, I do horses all the time, like look-alike horses based off of real people's horses. But I was just remembering that I actually did recently make 2 actual ponies by slightly adjusting my horse pattern for one of them, because it had sort of like a shorter actual pony body. The other pony was really like true horse proportions. But I'll show you those here real quick. And now that I've shown you the ponies, I really want to show you some nice dragons that I've done before to prove my point that the dragon scarf pattern was just AI slop. So I just really wanted to show you that, to remind you that I am an artist and I know what I'm doing. And this is the best I can do so far based on the instructions of the pattern, and trying to be faithful to actually following the pattern. However, this pattern, every step along the way, I have to make a decision whether I follow this part of the instructions or this part of the instructions, because they don't match. So like the actual instructions for crocheting versus the actual stitch count that it says it should be at the end. So each step along the way, I'm trying to determine which makes more sense for the instructions coming before and after. And so depending on which choices you make following this pattern, because you have to make choices because it doesn't make sense altogether, it might turn out different, but not better. We'll just say that. Different, but not better. As it is, this is pretty cute, but I will definitely finish it. So next I'll do the muzzle and the ears. And now we come to the instructions for the ears. Now I kind of didn't realize it had instructions for ears and muzzle at first, because I would expect them to be by the head instructions, but they aren't, but that's all right. So you start with 6, and then with the increases, it says that should only bring us to 9 stitches around, not 30. So I disregarded that 30 stitches indication.
And then the next round has us do 2 decreases, but not even enough stitches to go all the way around the round. So I did 2 extra stitches to finish the round, and with 2 decreases down from 9, it's 7 stitches. And then for round 4, it's another just 7 stitches around is what I did. Doesn't really all make sense what this says, but I did what I could that seemed closest to what it was saying to do. Oh my god, the muzzle is a section that makes sense. The whole thing makes sense. So the instructions match up with the stitch counts at the ends of each line, and it just says, it does say fasten off twice, but that's okay. And then I don't know why it says 3 through 3 at the end, but it does.
It does look marginally more like a pony now. Okay, so all she needs now is her mane and her tail. More of that brown yarn, I guess, because it actually does specify the brown yarn, I think. So let me know if you want it.
Here's the instructions for hair details. I would call it mane, but whatever. Cut and sew into strands in lengths of your choice. So I just attached strands the way I normally would, with like a little slip knot into the doll. And this is pretty funny. There are 2 sections that explain how to do the tail, with 3 different pictures. The first one says, cut strands of brown yarn and sew across 6 tops. I have no idea what that means. And there's 2 pictures around that one. It does say brown yarn. And then the other one says, cut strands of brown yarn, tie into small tassels, and trim as desired. So if you do anything with yarn, you know that a tassel is a very specific thing. I just did it the way I normally would do a tail. Same as the mane, just little slip knots. And that's all I did, because that's all that it gives instructions for. Here's the section for accessories. It just says saddle and bridle, tan yarn, bit and reins. It's telling you things that are kind of in the picture, but in the picture they're different than this. But it doesn't give any instructions, so I'm not going to make it up.
Is it any better? I'll say marginally. The tail just, it can't look good. The tail has no chance. It's like cascading down in between those 2 big balls of legs. So the mane is cute though. It definitely has more of a pony look in the front with its mane. So I'm going to call it done. That's enough time wasted on that. So let me know in the comments if I should have a name for it, if you want it, if you have a suggestion for what I should do with it. And yeah, I better get to some actual work. By the way, while I was actually kind of waiting for some things to load online, I was posting some stuff and uploading some stuff to Patreon and whatnot, and my internet was acting really slow. I went ahead and made more of these. So I have these now in stock, plus a couple more panels of that. So I can be doing more batch making over the weekend. I'll be going down to my partner's house today, just very soon. So at least this guy is done now. Okay, it is kind of cute. It is kind of cute. Oh my gosh. In a very odd way. The back is just never going to look cuter from the front than from the back. It's just always going to be the case. Anyway, so aside from some batch making stuff, I could make another Nana. I need to do that for next Wednesday. And then I also could start another one of my kids' blankets and do the first 2 squares worth of blanket number 3 in my year-long Blankets for All the 4 Kids in My Life project. That's the pattern I'm doing of Mars. So I'll have to decide what to pack and take with me. Nana is going to take priority. So I will start my next Nana now or a little bit later tonight when I'm done packing and driving down there.
If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers, but I did just hit 450, so we get to celebrate that now. just in case I didn't make my point clear enough about these AI generated patterns, here is a Marilyn Monroe doll that came across my feed. I'm showing you the picture. I'm just going to really briefly show you the different body parts. We've got two different examples for a torso. We've got some funky arms. And oh my God, tell me what is going on with these ears. We've got two different examples of what they should look like. And Marilyn Monroe's tail, ladies and gentlemen, we've got two examples as well in the images of what her tail should look like. Ladies and gentlemen, Marilyn Monroe's muzzle. Actually, not only does she have one muzzle, she has two. I will just say this, the instructions for her hair/fur don't make any sense. I will give them this, though. The instructions for the top don't make sense, but the instructions for the skirt, I think, would work. Although the 3 or 4 rows would be really short, I think. There's two different sets of instructions for the kulkuthes or the kluks. I think they mean clothes. And finally, I love how it just mentions white heels with a little picture as if that's instructions to make them. I have to say I am tempted to make this one as well, but there are so many of these patterns being put into existence, and I just wish they would go away. Here's where I've decided to call it quits on this particular batch making process for these mouth puppets, because I need to get to beginning the editing process for this video. Tomorrow morning, I still have a couple photo shoots to do. I'm going to do the Nana photo shoot and the one for the pony. The mouth puppets only need their tongues and tongue ties at this point. Okay, so what do you think? Would you ever trust an AI crochet pattern yourself based on my experimentation? Here is your weekly reminder of my Nanas Against Trump and Fascism project. All the nanas I have available are in my Etsy shop, and I am donating the net proceeds to the ACLU. This one's named after Kristen Wiig. crochet hooks and colors bright, crafting wonders day and night. Join the fun, come see it through, subscribe and I'll create for you.